Uh, Hello, guys. Thank you for joining us here on YouTube. I'm sitting here with Miss Jessica Hankerson. She's a woman of God, a mother, and a wife. She's a mother of three, actually: Elias, Leah, as well as Mateo. So she's a busy woman, but just want to welcome her into our circle today. And thank you for being here, Jessica.
Well, thank you for having me. This is really cool. Thanks. I'm
Yeah,
honored.
yeah. So you on our inaugural show here as we venture out to just talk about life, talk about things that's going on. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, there's a lot, but to try to snippet it, I guess. Um, I'm 40. I've been living in Maryland now for about 16 years now. Brian and I've been married for 12. My
Mhm.
oldest is 9. And we've been going to Calvary Chapel Breath of Life now since 2006. I'm a stay-at-home mom with my 3 and homeschool them. And I have was diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2015, and then it has spread to stage 4 metastasis, pretty much all over my body back in November 2019.
Okay. That is a lot, Jessica, and definitely a lot for one individual in this lifetime. So, like I said, let's just start a little bit, just like what you said. You came to Maryland from where?
From New York. I'm originally from New York City.
Okay. And what brought you to the area in Maryland?
Really was the Lord. I had gotten saved just a year before,
Mhm.
and He showed me through reading the Book of Judges that He was going to move me from New York, and He had somewhere else for me to go. And
Wow.
originally, I thought it was going to be Atlanta. I was all set to go to Atlanta. I'm looking for jobs, looking for places, and He closed all those doors.
Oh, wow.
Um, I had a friend that lived in Maryland. We met in New York because we worked together, and then she moved down here to go to American University. And she was like, "Well, what do you ever thought about, Maryland, D.C. area?" And so I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll try." And lo and behold, apartment came through, job came through. April. Matter of
Wow.
fact, tomorrow will exactly is the anniversary. It was April 1st.
Wow, isn't that something? That's wonderful, wonderful. So you came here and you started working, and then you found Calvary Chapel Breath of Life, and then
Brian
I
found
believe,
it first.
I'm sorry.
Brian had found it first.
Okay, your husband Brian. Yes.
He knew
Okay.
about it, and then we eventually came in June, 2 months after.
Okay. Okay, okay, that's awesome. And then I know you were working at one time, and then when you had Elias, is that when you came home, or did you make the decision after working a while and having a newborn, say, you know what, I think God is really want me to be home and raise my children, or your child at that time?
It was Brian and I had talked about it while we were actually engaged.
Okay.
We were, thinking about our future and our children and family and so forth. And we both agreed that we wanted to at some point homeschool the kids. And
Mm,
so at that point when we got married, we started saving so that we can pay off our debt and
mm-hmm,
save some money so that when we came home and I had, lost my income, we still had some money saved up. So
mm.
that's why by the time I came home, Elias was like 22 months old.
Oh, okay,
It wasn't
okay,
right away. Yeah. But by
okay.
then we had paid off our debt and saved.
Okay. Now, was that easy for you to give up your employment? Far as in some cases, some women kind of say that's their independence, but was it hard for you to give that up?
Not at all. I really wanted to come home. It was hard for me to wait that long.
Oh, wow. Isn't that something? Amen. Amen. And so when you got home, was it everything you expected it to be?
Um,
You want to tell us a little bit about what was you expecting it to be?
hard. It was hard. I really was faced with my own. So I had been so used to being with my own schedule and so much of, doing things my own way, my time, that I was really faced with, and so to this day, faced with that selfish nature
Mm-hmm.
of wanting things your way, specifically the way you think it should go. And children
Mm.
don't operate like that.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
So pretty much almost from day one, it was a wake-up call. I mean, I appreciate it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was definitely not what I anticipated.
Wow. Yeah. And then how was the transition from having one child at home to now having two children at home?
Actually, it wasn't the two children. It was the third. Hi, sweetheart. Good night. Good night, sweetheart. Mommy asked you to be obedient. This is one of them right here. Please be obedient to mommy. Go now. I'll see you in the morning, okay? Sorry about that.
That's okay. Life happens, girl. Life happens.
And it's supposed to be a bad sleep.
Ooh.
But, what was I gonna say?
The third was
The third one was probably more difficult than
Okay.
adding the second one, because by the time he came around, I was like super tired, like pregnant. So I had the two toddlers and then pregnant with him. So I was super tired. With her, it was kind of an excitement. With my second, it was kind of an excitement because I was finally having a girl.
Yeah.
So you would think adding and I thought adding a second one would be harder, but actually adding the third was harder.
Okay. So then now how many years since Mateo been born now? How old is Mateo?
He's about to have a 5th birthday on the 16th.
Wow, time moves quickly. I remember coming over and just, seeing, helping you out and everything with a meal, and everything, because I couldn't do too much, I ain't got that many kids to understand. But so then, of course, fast forward and we want to talk about when did you get diagnosed with, how did that process happen? First of all, how did you find it?
So I did find it myself. I actually found a mass on my left breast back in September of 2015.
Okay.
Just a regular check. But at the time, I was still nursing Mateo. And so I thought it was related to that, to breastfeeding. So I didn't go right away to see the doctor. And then when I felt the mass underneath my armpit, which is where our lymph nodes are,
right,
something was wrong. And then that's when I didn't go, got checked.
Okay. And you want to tell us how that was, as far as in, were you by yourself at the doctor's?
So when I first went, I went for my primary care, and I was alone with her. Brian stayed with the kids. And she thought also that it might have been related to nursing, but just in case, because of this one under here, she sent me for an ultrasound because they wouldn't have done a mammogram under normal circumstances because I was breastfeeding.
Right.
So that appointment was a couple of days later, and I was alone for that one because Brian was with the kids. And he did the ultrasound, and he said I could pull out a cyst, and he was like, but I am really concerned. I'm going to do a mammogram right now. So I was thankful he did it right then and there. And he said he definitely looks like a lot of calcification, and I want you to get a biopsy.
Okay.
So for the biopsy, that couldn't have been scheduled for, I think it was like 13 days later. And Brian came with me for that.
Okay.
And that was a Friday. So that next Tuesday, on December 8th, is when she told me that it was stage 3B breast cancer. But by then, the Lord had already confirmed it to me.
And how did you receive it? Especially since the Lord was the one who gave it to you, the peace about it. How did you receive that?
Because I knew that it was going to be that, I was like, okay, I know that that's what it is. And let's, what do we need to go from here?
Okay. And where did you go from there?
So the surgeon that gave me the initial diagnosis was someone that my primary care recommended to me. But we wanted to get some other doctors' opinions and, just what I call it, I interviewed doctors. So we went to Johns Hopkins, and then another friend of ours, she had just not too long before then, went through cancer treatment, and she went to Greater Baltimore Medical Center in Towson.
Okay. So
we interviewed with them as well. They both said the same thing. They all three said the same thing as far as the treatment process. So down to personal preference.
Okay.
And with DVMC, we went with them because the actual oncologist couldn't meet me until the end of January. And we're talking now the beginning of December. That was
Correct.
way too long.
Mm-hmm.
But the surgeon who eventually did my surgery, she called him up. We're in her office, and she calls him up on her cell phone. She said that's not working, and she got us in the following week on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and on Christmas Eve, and from there we was like, yeah, we're gonna go with them.
Okay. Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
with them.
yeah, I like that. I can understand because that just spoke volumes that she made a connection and had a number to get you in. So she definitely was a good doctor to have. Now, once you actually get in and you have the surgery, how did things go for you after the surgery?
Well, actually, because it was so large, we went with chemo first to shrink
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah. So the month of December was all scans and
Mm-hmm.
setting it up for chemo. So I did
Okay.
chemo from January through May of 2016.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then we did the surgery in June to
Okay.
remove.
Okay. So
So
from
I had the mass removed, what was left, and I also have both of my breasts removed, just more for proactive,
yes.
and had implants for them.
Okay. And the reason I've heard stories before, but tell us why, probably the doctor's recommendation as well to go ahead and get a double mastectomy versus actually just allowing it to necessarily take. I know that it's possible that it could spread, but tell us what your thoughts were doing a double mastectomy versus, um, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell,
What is for that? It was mostly so that it wouldn't spread to the other breasts, and for me personally to be even,
yeah.
because I have implants put in. They look very natural. I mean, most nobody would tell.
Mm-hmm.
And then I opted to go with what's called immediate. So they just, as soon as they took out my breast, they put in the implants, whereas some people do an expander to
Mm-hmm.
grow and
Mm-hmm.
put in larger breasts if they
Mm-hmm.
wanted, larger implants. And so that would have been the second surgery.
Okay.
It's to just knock it out, do it all at the same time. Whatever fits in there, that's what you get in there.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand. Going in once is enough. Is enough. I even heard people say, "Don't even do the biopsy. Just go ahead and just take them. Just take them right then and there."
I heard that
One
too.
surgery out. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I don't know if I ever told you that I had a really good friend of mine. He was about 29, 28 at the most, and he got diagnosed with cancer, and it was located in his lower back. And he was already in kidney failure, and then they found the actual cancer in his back, and it basically was in a spot that they couldn't even operate on. To be honest, they opened him up and found out they can't even get to it because of where it's enlarged. So they ended up closing him back up. And shortly after that, he, unfortunately lost his life to it because it began to spread. And so that's why a lot of people say, one and done, get it all, do the biopsy and everything like that before it begins to spread. So I do understand, definitely doing the double mastectomy. And so you recovered. I remember, I did see that you had lost your hair during chemo, and who would never know because look how beautiful and long and flowing it is now. But you chose to get it off because it was definitely a hindrance as far as in the treatment and everything. Then you did anything change with you, say maybe your disposition change after the surgery, or were you just as positive as you were beforehand?
Oh yeah, nothing had changed. I mean, the Lord had promised me He would take care of my family and myself, and I saw Him keep that promise. I had never felt closer to Him than before.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that this was just a part of my stories, personal to me,
Yes.
and that He allowed it all to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect Him to leave me after He's been with me thus far. So
Yeah.
no, I just felt it was just one other thing. Getting ready for the next.
Yeah, and I was a witness to that as well. I mean, sometimes I even forgot that you were going through that struggle because you were so positive and definitely so cheerful. The only thing the thing that I noticed was when you wasn't in church, and that's when I was like, Jessica not in church today. And that was because you might have been home, actually, sometimes not only for yourself, but for the kids. But that was like the biggest thing I saw that really transitioned in your life. So that's definitely a testimony in itself and all. So yeah, so now we fast forward. I think that was in 2000. You said 17, correct? That all this took
16.
place. 16,
Yeah,
and
16.
then last year you began to experience some pain. I remember you said in your hip, I believe,
Yep, my back.
your back.
Mm-hmm. My
Okay,
lower.
and
Mm-hmm.
um and that then in turn said, well, let me go get this checked out. And that's when, because I'm pretty sure you still had to do body scans during that time, right? I
Well,
mean,
that's the thing. So my oncologist, different oncologists have different school of thoughts, and some of them, because of the radiation of scans, they prefer not to do scans unless absolutely necessary. And some doctors prefer to do scans, or if you request it, they'll
hmm,
do them.
okay.
So my oncologist was the school of thought of let's not scan unless we absolutely need to.
Hmm.
So, excuse me. So I had not gotten a scan. And originally when I had gotten the pain in the back, I really thought I had just started working out, like, I don't
Mm,
know, 6, 8 weeks before. And so I thought it was related to that.
okay.
And it was the working out is what triggered the pain,
Mm,
but it was because this tumor was already there.
okay. Okay.
But so I didn't go immediately to my oncologist when I
Hmm.
had the pain. I actually went to an ortho
Mm,
because I thought
yeah.
it was maybe there's a disc or something. I knew it was something more serious than just like a muscle sprain,
Hmm.
but I still didn't think it was a cancer. I just thought it was related to the exercise.
Mm, yeah. Wow.
So when they sent me for an MRI, that's when they saw it metastasize and spread to the bone, and then that's when I called my oncologist.
Mm, okay.
Requested the full scan, and that's where they saw it everywhere else.
Wow. Wow. Hmm. So how did you receive that? How was it?
So because, like I said, I really thought it was related to working out, and I thought I was going to have some PT. I was shocked, and it's funny because when the ortho first read me the MRI, he didn't read the report. He was just looking at the images. So he said, "Oh, I don't see anything serious here. Just have some PT, and send me back in 6 months unless you feel more pain." So I was ready to walk out the door, ready to call for some PT, thinking everything was cool. And he calls me on my cell phone. And usually I don't answer numbers that I don't recognize.
Right.
But I answered this one. And he was like, Jessica, are you still in the building? I was like, yes. He was like, I need you to come back now. So then I go back there. And then he was like, I'm so sorry. He was like, but I didn't read the report. And then he showed me the report where it says this is metastasized breast cancer.
Mm,
Yeah,
wow.
several bones in my hip. And so when I walked out the building, and I had just found out that there were some situations with my family members as well.
Hmm.
So, and so I was like, oh, this is just bad timing.
Hmm.
Because I really felt bad for my family member for me to have to go through this as well.
Mm,
And so I'm crying to the Lord. I'm like, why, Lord? This is not what I expected. And
hmm.
so I'm walking to my van, and the car right next to me that wasn't there when I first parked had Psalm 34 on there, on the
Mm,
license. And so I got in my van, I pulled out my Bible, I read the whole chapter, and in it says, not one bone will be broken.
mm,
It's about praising the Lord continuously.
hmm.
He's good. He
Hmm.
will not lack for nothing.
Hmm.
And so that just washed over me. Like, you know what, Lord, this is not an accident.
Hmm.
And you got me covered, just like you did the
Mm.
first time. So
Wow. Wow.
definitely.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. And so, how are you doing? And I mean, this has been a few months now, right? That you've gotten that diagnosis.
That was November, December, January, February, March. Yeah, it's been 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the full scan, it showed that it's not only in the hip, but it's also in the ribs, the
Okay.
liver, the lung, the
Mm.
sternum,
Wow.
and several of both hips and the femur. And so it had spread pretty significantly
Mm-hmm.
because God is not in my brain.
Mm.
And then, so I had first round of treatment. It's called first line of treatment done. And that was a combination of drugs that they first start off in my specific type of cancer that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got scans done, it showed that there was still progression in the liver. So we're saying that it's spreading and growing. So that's considered it doesn't work. And so now I just started the second line of treatment, a chemo in the pill form. And physically, as far as side effects, it's not as bad as it can be so far. I just have, you have something called hand-foot syndrome. So your hands and feet can hurt. Right now, my feet hurt a little bit, but my hands don't hurt. They're just really dark.
Okay.
But that's it. And so I'll take that. Over
Yeah.
nausea, diarrhea, I'll take that. And obviously the fatigue, but it's not horrible. So,
Amen. Amen.
yeah, other than that, I'm just taking it day by day, enjoying every
Mm.
day that I can as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to prepare and, you know, spend time with people, even though now, of course, we're on lockdown.
Ain't that something? And I'm like, okay, you ain't got no choice but to spend time with your loved ones now.
Girl,
Wow.
I am
Wow.
thankful for that. But yeah,
So if you can give people one message about your journey as far as in the breast cancer, what would be the message that you want to leave with people?
that there's hope in Jesus. You know,
Amen.
we don't, having cancer, you can feel alone because so many people don't have it. And as kind as people can be, you really don't understand unless you have it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be lonely. If
Mm-hmm.
you have Jesus Christ as your foundation,
Mm-hmm.
He is that safe tower that we can run to.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to be alone in
Mm-hmm.
this journey. And regardless of what happens,
Mm-hmm.
you know where you could go, you know? And so if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to heaven, I mean, this is coronavirus, really? And you want me to stay for coronavirus? I think
Yeah.
I'm going to be home with the Lord. So if that's where you know you're going, you can face it.
Yeah.
More hope and peace.
Yeah.
And you know, another thing I say, it's okay to cry. That
Yeah.
is one thing I have learned. It is okay to cry. He says he
Amen.
holds our tears in a jar. So it's
Amen.
okay to break down. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset. But ultimately trust and know that
Mm.
he allowed it to happen for a
Mm.
reason.
Amen. Amen. Quite positive, Miss Jessica. I mean, you definitely are an inspiration to many people, and I'm pretty sure many more that will come down the line of this same journey for themselves, including even me myself. I mean, that's not necessarily the what God didn't say you wouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely inspiration. And I just want to say, through the years I've known you, you've always been a very positive individual, and I've loved you from cell group into women's ministry, and even into now, as you go through this stage. So I just want to thank you for spending some time with me today and sharing, your journey. I mean, you are, like I said, such an inspiration to many people, and I thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for even wanting to talk to me. Praise God.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end. Okay.
All right.
Uh, Stop the recording. You should.